Helens in round 15 of the Tetley Super League 9. Widnes lost at Nosey Road in March, 38 points to 20, but it wasn't as comfortable as it looks for the Saints. The Saints are 5 points adrift at the top of the table. They have an inferior points difference too, albeit with a game in hand. And Neil Kelly, he will be hoping that his men lose their camera shyness here this evening, because we have yet to see them win on Sky Sports this year. The Saints are aiming to maintain that 100% record against the Vikings at Super League level. And if Wigan do them a favour and beat Leeds tomorrow, the gap could be down to just 3 points. You know, this could be a very significant weekend as Saints go for the top of the table spot for the third time in 9 years. Widnes Vikings then, they line up like this: Bird, Rowlands, Weston, Mule and Giles, Finnegan and Jules O'Neill. The forwards: Relf, Millard, O'Neill, the other Julian, Hay, the skipper, Wozniak and Frayne. And the subs: McCurry, Hobson, Mills and Myler, two famous old names of the past. And it's Neil Kelly who is the coach. Now St Helens rejigging. Albert at fullback, Gardner, Gilmore, Tallow, Hardman, Wellens and Hooper. Fozzard, Cunningham, Mason, Joint, Wilkin and the captain Paul Sculthorpe. And the subs: Stankovic, Edmondson, Funati and Fasavalu, the coach Ian Millward. Well, out comes Paul Sculthorpe. He needs 4 tries for 100 with the Saints. And the big question mark is just how these young men will react today to the events of the past 24 hours. But a huge boost for them is that Kieran Cunningham is past fit to play in the side. As we watch the St Helens supporters, just a quick word about the boys who are on their way to Australia. It's the Bala Great Britain Lions. They're all watching this on a big screen apparently at Manchester Airport, waiting to go off to Australia to play 2 tests against the Australian Aboriginals. And we wish them bon voyage and safe home. And they're going to watch this Super League clash between Widnes and the Saints as the Vikings leave their dressing room to come out to face this pretty intimidating atmosphere, let me tell you. They've lost all 6 in Super League against St Helens since they were promoted in 2001. Their last victory against Saints in the old First Division in April 1994. But they will never have a better chance than this, they believe. And neither do their supporters, who remember when they came back from that drubbing against Hull a couple of weeks ago. They turned the tables and put in a fine performance against the Warrington Wolves. While we watch the Widnes supporters, a quick mention of the PA announcer here at the Holton Stadium, Chris Moore. He's making slow but steady progress in hospital in Cambridge, and he is watching this match on his TV at his bedside this evening. And I'm sure, Chris, that if Widnes manage to win, what a boost it will be to your recovery. Great to have you with us on this sun-drenched night in Widnes. It's been pretty cloudy and the rain has been falling now and again during the course of the day, but the sun is shining tonight, albeit through grey skies, as Widnes prepare to get this game in motion. Match referee, as you saw, is Russell Smith. His shrill blow of the whistle will start us off. Jules O'Neill prepares, and here we go. Can Widnes break new ground?
They certainly can if they concentrate for the full 80 minutes. They've got to make sure the defence is pretty solid. It was a lift for them to do the kick-off. They can put and apply the pressure. They've done that into the corner. But they've got to make sure that they concentrate for the full match.
Darren Albert, who is operating at full-back this evening. He plays the ball to Cunningham. Here is Sculthorpe. Sculthorpe, of course, no stranger to moving forward from loose forward to stand-off or scrum half whenever necessary. He won dual Lance Todd's really from the standoff role 2 seasons ago. And here he is again, the man now with the kicking responsibilities for the next 3 months. Good kick too, over the top of Dion Bird. And Bird, the Widnes full-back, runs it back. met by Wilkin, and a good chase also from Hooper.
Wonderful kick there from the captain, Paul Sculthorpe. And you can see that the lengthening shadows, that was a pretty high shot from Mason. The locals didn't like that at all.
It was a good job that Chris Giles ducked underneath this. Here is Robert Rells. That's a big hit from John Wilkin.
Oh, Wilkin
goes in for the flop, though.
Not only that, he went for the face as well. He went right down into the face there. A little bit of a stray elbow onto the prop forward, Robert Rells. And not surprisingly, Russell Smith, who, as I mentioned just before the kickoff, Eddie, I am so glad that we've got such an experienced referee tonight, because this is, well, sitting on a powder keg.
Jules O'Neill kicks the ball into touch. Widnes will restart. 10 metres in on the 14-metre line, and here's the other Julian O'Neill. That's a good run. Wilkin and Hooper carried forward with him. Eventually Fozzard moving in to stop him, but he makes 15 priceless metres there for the Vikings. Millard, the dummy half. Robert Rells, good ball to Dion Bird. Had to be a good tackle from Joint and Cunningham, and it was. Millard motioning the troops forward. He comes down the left channel with Andy Hay. And Andy Hay on the third tackle gets Widnes to within 2 metres. Millard again spins the ball to O'Neill. Back it goes on the inside to Frayne, but the St Helens defence is there in numbers.
Well, Frayne came a little bit too early there. You can see O'Neill trying to bring him back on the inside, but he should have been another 2 metres back, really banging onto the football.
Great tackle by Fuanati on O'Neill. And this is Finnegan, a little stab towards the in-goal area. Darren Albert collects it underneath his post. Dion Bird with the tackle for the Widnes Vikings.
Not a bad option. Tense moments out there at the moment.
That was a great offload by Sculthorpe to Gilmore.
Here's a kick through, but good position by Darren Albert.
Good tackle on Fozzard by Finnegan and Hay. Cunningham the dummy half. This is Keith Mason.
Well, Widnes will be quite happy so far. Okay, we're only just over 3 minutes into the game, but they've kept St Helens well and truly out of their half.
It's a 40-20 attempt, though, by Paul Sculthorpe. Over the top of Dion Bird, almost to the try line. Bird to run it back. Great chase again, led by Gilmore. And also in there quickly was young Ian Hardman.
We saw against Leeds last week that Widnes have the ability to attack out wide. They've got plenty of pace out there. If the forwards can lay the platform, we know that they've got 2 players on their side. Shane Millard, the hooker, and of course Jules O'Neill playing half-back tonight.
Got a glimpse there of Ian Millwood as he watches Kieran Cunningham driving the tackle in on Robert Rells. Here now is Shane Millard. That's the last tackle here for Widnes, this set of 6. Jules O'Neill under pressure from Hooper, gets the kick away. Bounces a little unkindly for Albert. How good's the Widnes chase? Well, they're labouring really to get to Albert, but they do eventually in the shape of the number 15, Troy Wozniak.
Well, Neil Kelly will be disappointed with that. You could see that they rushed up very, very quick indeed, and then they just backed off. You can't hesitate. If you're going to apply the pressure, you've got to get right into their faces.
Cunningham, Sculthorpe now, over the halfway line for St Helens. Tackled by Robert Rells. Missed the match against Leeds last week, Rells. Cunningham, so important to the team now, Cunningham. Great flick to Fozzard. He helps it on to Sculthorpe. Sculthorpe gives it to Gilmore. This is what Saints do so well.
The turning and tackle, they know that they've got support. That is a trademark, that's for sure. Interesting to see how Paul Sculthorpe is taking full control. Normally it would be Sean Long, but naturally today, just a little bit too strong there. Sculthorpe's responsibility, he knows he has to guide the Saints around the paddock tonight.
Right, I wonder who might be going home with the watch this evening. Dave Hatfield from the Rugby League Media is waiting to talk to us. Dave, some significant names missing, but a chance for others to shine.
Yes, there's bound to be extra attention tonight on the players who've been shunted around to make up for the absence of Sean Long and Martin Gleeson. Paul Wellens and Lee Gilmore have been so outstanding in their own roles so far this season. Being asked to do something completely different tonight. And what about the extra responsibility on Paul Sculthorpe? Some significant changes for Widnes as well. They must think that Jules O'Neill and Simon Finnegan are the best defensive half-back combination. So they're in there tonight. Robert Ralph doesn't miss many games. He was out at Leeds last week and he was certainly missed. And we've seen a bit of the impact that he could make tonight.
OK, Dave, talk to you with about 5 minutes to go. It's Widnes on the attack here on the last tackle. O'Neill, kicker-in-chief for them. High midfield bomb. Julian O'Neill was ahead of the kick. And Darren Albert defused the bomb easily. But Julian O'Neill, the prop forward, big fella there, getting up off the tackle player. He was told by the referee to stay out of the business because he was ahead of the kick.
Well, I often wonder, you know, when you've got two guys out there with the same name, when the referee calls out Julian O'Neill, it's difficult at times. Is it the one Jules or the other Julian? Very hard. Just so in there, Widnes will be lifted by the fact that the second rower, Troy Wozniak, nearly made a half break there. He impressed me against Leeds last week, and he's using him out wide, is Kelly.
This is Wellens. He gets St Helens to the 40-metre line. They've won 8 of the last 9 of the Saints. 52 points to 8 winners over Castleford last week. Only Wigan have toppled them in the last 6 games. In great form, Mason. That's a good run, but a good tackle by Millard and Relf. Here they come, though, with Wilkin.
You just get the impression that St Helens just doing the basics right, not stretching themselves.
Crossfield kick from Sculthorpe. Intelligent, a chance here for A.D. Gardner, who's claimed it. And A.D. Gardner, struggling to get his way over the line, is hauled back by the Widnes defence. That will be the turnover. Well, Gardner climbed high, and Ian Millwood was almost off his feet, off his seat rather.
Well, it's a good option, isn't it? Especially with the sun right in the faces of this Widnes outfit. It's a 4th kick already from Sculthorpe. Really is taking up the mantle of controlling things. But Widnes, they'll be buoyed by the fact that they've been able to repel anything that the Saints have thrown at them.
Here, and the ball is lost there, was it? It was stolen. It was stolen, and Troy Wozniak breathes a sigh of relief. I thought he was trying to offload it here.
No, you could say that Wilkin definitely went for that football. And when you're in that position, there's no way in the world the referee is going to not give the penalty. Good work by the touch judge as well. Russell Smith just looked onto the sideline and said, was there an infringement? Yes, there was. A quick shot of Jules O'Neill. He's the man that can steer them around.
Millard waits at dummy half, 30 metres away, as you can see. It's now with Jules O'Neill. Little dummy. Fossard wouldn't be fooled by that. Millard again. To Andy Hay. Andy Hay goes for a gap. Wilkin and Sculthorpe closed it. Millard once more. And this now is Finnegan. Simon Finnegan, who has been one of the best for Widnes this year. The ball's come clear. Millard retained possession for his team. This is Jules O'Neill. Bullet past a Bird. On the bounce it finds Rowlands on the outside. That was well taken.
Not the best pass, so we're going to have to do a lot of work there. Surely yet another kick from O'Neill.
O'Neill to the corner. And it's claimed by the Widnes man, and is it touchdown?
No, he's short.
Just short Chris Giles.
What a great take. He had his back. It's no try. Wonderful decision there by the touch judge yet again. And the official with the whistle, Russell Smith. What a take from Giles, and he just couldn't get it over. Well, Ian Hardman did everything right, didn't he? At least he just got the arm across to prevent that. But what a mighty kick from the halfback, Jules O'Neill. They're running hot are the Vikings.
And that was great defence, though, from Hardman. But Giles denied by around about 5 or 6 inches, no more. Saints in possession with Mason. Good start to the match, Phil Clark.
It is, yes. You mentioned the fact that Saints have been in great form recently. One of the noticeable differences between them and perhaps Widnes, who we're seeing here today, is that whenever they've made a break in their recent matches, they've converted it into a try, and that's probably the sign of a real great side. I just thought that last week they were so successful in starving their opposition of having any time attacking their own line that it made life difficult. But we've seen Widnes with some great optimism and players breaking through here. They've had a few chances. They need to convert them into tries.
Millard finds Finnegan. It's It's the tackle there from Gilmore and Sculthorpe that halts him. Millard again. This now Julian O'Neill. Here is Relf. Only spins away from Joint, but he can't get away from Cunningham on the last. Widnes with Millard. Here's O'Neill. Wait for the kick again. There it is. This time it's a grubber all along the ground. And it bounces in front of Darren Albert, the stand-in full-back.
Oh, and a high shot from
O'Neill launched himself there.
Albert would have felt that. That seemed to ricochet off the shoulder maybe on the first impact. The one thing that disappoints me, Widnes put on someone, this is the incident. Oh, definitely over the top. That should have been a penalty.
Well, he's got them now for offside.
Just getting back to that point, Eddie, is that the one thing that disappoints me about Widnes, that approach work is good, but yet they don't stand deep enough and they don't use dummy runners. It's very, very much one out.
Here now is Hardman. Full-back or wing, and an England Academy star in December against the Aussies Institute of Sport. This is Wellens for St Helens. 180th appearance for the Saints tonight, by the way, for Wellens. Mason hands it on here to Chris Joint. And now Hooper. Good ball to Talau. He was halted half by the challenge. Jules O'Neill was almost taken off his feet, but stood his ground as it turned out. Here now is Wellens again in centre field. He finds Sculthorpe, and Sculthorpe waits for the runners, gets the ball away one-handed. Hardman has lost up behind him.
Well, the local crowd don't like that. It looked as though there was a little bit of a knock on there, but it wasn't the best pass from Sculthorpe. Interesting to see the change in tactics there. There's a changeover, but there was an awful pass, wasn't it, from Sculthorpe? Can't blame the winger Hardman. Just noticing that on that last attacking move from Saints, they've slipped Sculthorpe out wide. Up until this point, he's been taking first receiver. Now they've moved Paul Wellens into that position, and the skipper is going out wide.
Well, when I was talking to Ian Millward about this match yesterday, Steve, I said it's almost been like pre-season because of the hearing yesterday, he couldn't really plan properly for what was to come here, and they've been operating all sorts of players around the ruck.
Well, it's nothing unusual, is it, by Ian Millward? It's something he's done over the many seasons he's been a coach in this country. He often says, you know, if there's someone in the dummy half position, he doesn't care whether it's a prop forward. Get in there and do the work.
It's St Helens who are in possession, deep in their own half, but nearly 14 minutes on the watch, and it's been, so far, a pretty encouraging start for the Widnes Vikings. Brian Carney.
Yeah, it has. I think this game is going to be won and lost on the speed of the play of the ball. St Helens rely on their back three to get a quick play of the ball and bring the likes of Fozzard and Mason on the back of that. So far, Widnes have succeeded in slowing that play of the ball down. Widnes, on the other hand, have got a very quick play of the ball, and that gives a player like Shane Millard the chance to jump from dummy half, and that's where Widnes' other attacking threat will come from.
Great to have Brian Carney with us tonight, the injured Wigan star. We'll be talking to him, of course, throughout the course of the evening. This is Cunningham, that's a good ball, and Wellens was nearly away, but off. It's a forward pass.
Well, again, the combination, I love to see this, you know. It was forward. That's the third occasion.
I think it's the hands that's the telltale sign.
Not only that, Cunningham stopped moving, so no chance of bringing in the momentum rule, as we often refer to. But that's a third occasion where the touch judge on this side, no doubt about it, was forward, and he's made sure that the message has got out to Russell Smith. More of the same, please, official.
And that was Aaron Moore playing the ball to O'Neill, who got it away to Daniel Frame. Much soul-searching in the Widnes camp over the past fortnight since the defeat at Hull. They beat Warrington 31-10 the following week, lost at Leeds, but they went down with dignity at Headingley. And here now is O'Neill again. And he finds Finnegan. And Finnegan to Hay, but that was lost by Hay. And here comes Jason Hooper for the Saints. O'Neill got to him, but he's escaped the net. And Hooper, has he got the pace? Aaron Moore comes back and cuts him down.
He took a huge gamble in the centre, Aaron Moore. He went high rather than going for the legs.
This is Hardman. Just held up short of the line. Tackled by Andy Hay, who produced the mistake up the other end. Now it's Sculthorpe. This is Fozzard. Back it goes to Sculthorpe. Sculthorpe over the top to Wilkin. Good hands. Gilmore. And Gilmore is through Wozniak. And Gilmore has scored.
Controversial. Very controversial. He can't go for the forward pass, but it looked as though the offload from Sculthorpe earlier in that build-up.
Yep.
Now then, he wants to see whether he got it down all right. I think he did. Yep. No problem about it. Or did he lose it now? I think he's got it down. Left arm. Yep, that's try time. It was pinched away from him after the ball had hit terra firma. That's all it takes. A split second, that's why we go frame by frame. And that is try time. It's enough.
Well, Weston did his best to try and prevent the try. Is it on Weston's arm?
Well, half of the ball is on Weston's arm, but the other half, or a quarter, or an inch, or a millimetre, it makes no difference. It's not the amount of ball you get on down, it's any.
And of course a two-man tackle as well, and if Weston tries to steal the ball here, that would be a penalty to St Helens. Oh, I wonder.
Well, I'll give this as a try. And it should be a try as far as I'm concerned.
Ian Ollerton is the video referee. And the try is given to the Saints. Widnes fans don't like it, but Lee Gilmore comes up with the score. And it all came as a result of Widnes losing the ball in the St Helens quarter, just yards from the Saints line, and Saints sweep upfield and score in the resulting set of 6.
Well, I mentioned the fact that Widnes attacked very, very flat. That's the reason why they lost possession. You can see there Andy Hay. He got it back straight on the flat pass. Hooper making a habit of this. When they get to a point, look at the centre, Aaron Moore. He really should have gone for the legs early. Got there in the end. That's the one that I thought was a little bit dodgy. Sculthorpe to Fozzard, but what a neat little flick out wide. Boom. He got it down.
Well, I can tell you, Steve, if they hadn't seen that that ball had hit the ground, the video referee was definitely considering a penalty try.
Well, because of the stealing, 2-on-1. 2-on-1, yeah. No doubt about it. But it's a try in its own right. But as I say, get back to the point, he's converted, has he?
No, just the wrong side of the post for Paul Sculthorpe's first kick at goal. But the Saints lead by 4 points to 0. The Widnes fans, you can probably hear, are far from happy. But Gilmore in the side in the centre for Martin Gleeson. He is in a rich vein of form at the moment. You can almost play him anywhere. Missed Castle of last week. He was concussed against Wigan 2 weeks ago. Great Britain and Scotland international, Lee Gilmore. First try of the match here at the Halton Stadium. Well, the important thing from Widnes' point of view now is that they don't buckle, they don't fade. They stick to the belief that they appear to have in the opening 17 minutes.
Well, we heard the Widnes crowd there. Obviously disappointed that the try was given. But I think they were more upset with this. Was it forward? It's certainly 50-50. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. On that occasion, Widnes paid the price. But they also paid the price with the flat pass to Andy Hay. He got belted down the other end of the field, and Hooper lethally took up the ball and turned defence into attack.
Cunningham is starting to run riot up the middle. That's a great ball to Wellens. And Wellens, he has got support here from Albert. And Albert goes in. St Helens on their traditional roll. 2 tries in as many minutes. And Darren Albert with the try. Right underneath the 6. Try number 11 for the season for Darren Albert. 5th equally before tonight on the Super League try-scoring chart. And the big danger whenever St Helens play you, if they get one, they can so easily get another in quick succession.
Well, psychologically, they know that perhaps they're just a little bit tired, a bit disappointed. First time we've seen the hooker Cunningham make a foray from the dummy half position. But what about the support play? Excellent. Look at this. You've got to make sure you nail it. Look at the fend off there to Andy Hay. Sheer quality. Wellens, as we know for many years, back up, then the last pass to the man that's playing fullback tonight, Darren Albert. Smiles all around from Ian Wilbur, and why not? 2 tries first and second. You can see there. Watch how he sucks in the player as well, which is David Mills. They really should have had it. Julian O'Neill was there. And as we've seen so many times, the Welland support play allows this man to get the try. The second for Saints. And it's battered and hard times Widnes now. They really have got to dig deep. It has been really, really solid defence up until 2 minutes ago.
Steve, you know, the St Helens side did exactly the same to Widnes back in round 3 with back-to-back tries that probably killed off Widnes' hopes. I don't think that's the case here today. We've still got far too long to go in this game. But I remember listening to him, Millward, not long ago when somebody was talking about the speed of his side. And he actually corrected him and said, listen, it's not the speed of our side that's killing opponents, it's the reaction. When any of our players make a break or sees an opportunity, other players are quicker at reacting than others in the league, and they've seen 2 opportunities, reacted quicker than their opponents, and all of a sudden they're 10 points to 0.
Yes, it hasn't taken long for St Helens to build that advantage midway through this first half. Here comes Keith Mason again. David Mills is on. The young Welsh prop forward wrestles Mason to the ground. Scunthorpe goes for a 40-20. And it just falls short of the 20-metre mark. But Paul Scunthorpe, we shouldn't think that he is a mug when it comes to goal kicking, you know, because he has scored over 252 pointers in his career. And when Sean Long was out injured a couple of seasons ago, this fellow filled in for him. And not only did he play so well, he played that well that he won the Man of Steel award for a second year in succession. Jules O'Neill, dummy half. Widnes looking to respond. The big problem they have is they've only scored 40 tries in Super League this year. They're poorest in Super League, and it's play like that really that has cost them dear in the past. Wozniak trying to get the ball out wide.
Well, as I mentioned before, they're utilising him out wide, out in the just off the centres.
No chance for young Rowlands.
Disappointment etched on the face of the coach there, Neil Kelly. He knows that they've responded well for the opening 20 minutes. But that
look at this. Well, that's got a touch of luck about it for Hooper. It's a good job that Moore got there with the tackle, but that was going to be a knock-on. But he reacted so quickly, Hooper. And here now is Mason. He's just held up short of the line.
There's no luck when it comes to the fact that they didn't have a defender to stop him.
This is Wellens round a cul-de-sac, eventually brought to ground by Finnegan. But 3 tackles in the bag for Saints. That's ominous for Widnes here. And this is Cunningham trying to plunder one of his own. And Cunningham just hauled back into the field of play. So the tackle count will continue. It's with Scunthorpe. They spread it wide to Hooper. And Hooper tackled by Wozniak this time. The last one. Will Widnes survive this? It's an onslaught at the moment. Scunthorpe with a delicate chip over the top. Picked up by Craig Weston, who did well.
Did he ever? That ball was going right towards the post. It wouldn't have been easy for Weston to pick that up. Came very late. Neat little kick, wasn't it? They practiced that on the training ground. Utilised those square padding. And it nearly came up for him there.
Well, St Helens, 2 tries in 2 minutes. Brian Carney, when they're in that sort of mood, they are very difficult to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what they can do to you sometimes. I think Neil Kelly's going to be a little bit worried with the amount of space that St Helens are finding around the Widnes ruck. The A and B, the A defenders, what we call the A defenders, the first defenders off the ruck, are standing a little bit wide for Widnes, and it's allowing the likes of Kieran Cunningham to exploit that with Paul Scunthorpe bringing Keith Mason on. We've just seen another example of it now. So I think that's Widnes have definitely got to tighten up the defence around the ruck.
Yes, they've got to watch their markers, there's no doubt about that. And you've also got to stop Fossard unloading. And here goes Chris Joynt. And Chris Joynt flicks it wide to Gardner. Now they're claiming that that's a forward pass as well. And the touch judge has stood his ground on that far side.
I think he'll say it's forward.
Willie Talao thinks he scored. They're only checking the grounding here.
Wow.
Nothing to do with a forward pass.
Well, the officials, they're quite happy with it. And so am I in regards to the grounding. Well, poor defence. They've just dropped apart, haven't they? Oh, he's dropped it. This is no try. Willie Talao has just dropped it at the vital moment. That's N-O-T-R-Y. That is quite clear. Great effort in diving for it, but that will never be a try. Unless they give them with a belly button, and I don't think they will tonight.
Well, we've had them before given with the upper body, but is it a try or not?
No try.
20-metre restart. St Helens are denied. Willie Talau is denied, but Widnes breathed a sigh of relief. And Jules O'Neill trying to catch the Saints on the back foot.
Far too many gaps appearing in this Widnes defence. And on top of that, I just get the impression that they put so much into this first quarter that it's starting to tell already.
Frame gets the ball away. Wozniak drops it.
It's a knock-on.
Well, the crowd on their feet screaming. It was projected forward by Troy Wozniak. There is no doubt about that. All right, he had his back to the St Helens posts, but
Eddie, when you
goes forward.
I know that, but when you're 10 points down, you know, you've got to be a real fan and you've got to stick with it and just hope that things go your way. You can't just hope in this game, and that's what Neil Kelly has to get the message out and say, come on, tighten up the defence. Full credit to Saints. You know, Saints are going through so many gaps at the time, but I get the... Oh, that's got to be a flop. That's silly play. Just lack of concentration. I know we often say, well, frustration comes into it, but the tackle was complete. Can't afford to do that. Craig Weston giving away a simple penalty.
Weston, his first start since returning from Australia. He helped Widnes to promotion in 2001, but he hasn't helped the defensive cause here because they've got 6 tackles coming up and they're 15 metres away from the line. And here is Hardman. And this Widnes defence has got to stand up and be counted now.
Ian Millward has gone back to the tactics that he utilised very early in the season.
Great ball.
And
Stankovic.
That's just good hard work with the forwards.
Great offload from Stankovic to Wellens. Wellens going nowhere on this occasion. Cunningham, the dummy half. Here is Fozzard. Goes down on one knee in the tackle.
Oh, it looks as though he went for the voluntary then.
Cunningham. Here is Sculthorpe. That's better. That's a much better tackle. And it was Finnegan who shot out of the line to get him. And that ball bounces all over the show. And who has defused it and who's got the try? Nobody.
Be a dropout.
I think David Mills reacted quicker.
Certainly was. Neat little chip through, wasn't it, by Cunningham. Mills just got back in time. Sculthorpe was right over the top.
Got to be so quick with your thoughts in this game.
Certainly have, and it was great work from the big fella Mills. Had to be as well. Also, the first 15-20 minutes, you know, Widnes had good field position. They were applying the pressure. But you just watch this St Helens side now. They'll use the big forwards, pile through, quick play the ball like we just saw there from Nick Fozzard a few moments ago.
And that was a ball on the inside from Joint to Hooper, and Ian Millward on the phone. And I bet that's a communication system down to the touchline because he hasn't got the earpiece on.
Oh, that's better defence.
That's much better.
Getting right into the face. It's Daniel Frame leading the way.
This is Cunningham from dummy half. Ball out the back. And that's Sculthorpe, isn't it, underneath all that? Yes, it is. Cunningham again. Looking to plunder one. He has. Cunningham has plundered one from dummy half. Well, when he was announced to be in the side just minutes before the game started, that was perhaps the telling moment of this night, because Cunningham, along with Sean Long and Martin Gleeson and Sculthorpe, they have been absolutely magnificent this year.
Not just the fact that he's skillful and not just the fact that he's got the strength, but he has this ability to read. Look, he just throws that dummy, boom, straight over. He knows he has the power. He really has perfected his handoff. Watch this one. Boom. Plenty of strength. That's a good try. He knows the importance of that as well. He knows that the heads will go down in the Widnes camp. They absorbed everything that Widnes threw at them in the first quarter, and the quality and the class is beginning to tell.
Oh, well, Ian is on the phone and Dave Rotherham is on the headpiece. Paul Sculthorpe with the opportunity to add the extras. And here is Sculthorpe now as the Widnes side just line up behind the sticks. No problem for Paul Sculthorpe there. And St Helens lead by 16 points to 0.
It's an amazing game, rugby league. Early in this match, Widnes applied that pressure and Giles went very close indeed. The kicking from O'Neill, there's 4 or 5, created all sorts of problems, but the quality of this man, they reckon he's not fully fit, but he's shown enough for me that even at 90%, he's still star quality, isn't he?
Problem Widnes have got, we mentioned it earlier, only 40 tries they've scored in Super League this year. They have the poorest attack in the competition. They did get 4 against Leeds last Friday though, and they've bettered that only twice this year. Well, they have to score 3 times now if they're going to win this match from here.
Well, I've been very critical. I've said it quite a lot of times this season, is that when you're running just one out and there's no one running on the second stanza, no one coming through and trying to create all sorts of problems, then it's easy work for the defence. St Helens just absorbed it.
Cunningham and Hooper, and wide it goes to Talau, denied by the video referee. That's much better defence though from Widnes. Last tackle here, Hooper with the kick into the space between Dion Bird and Chris Giles. Bird takes control of the situation. And Phil, in the kicking department, that really is the difference, as is the missed tackles between the two sides at the moment.
I think it is, yes. You make that point there. You see the number of missed tackles, really, and that's an alarming figure, really, with just only half of an hour past. And you'd imagine that that's going to rise even further for the Widnes side. But as Brian Carney mentioned earlier, if you're going to have a chance against St Helens, you must compete with them with the speed of your own play the balls versus theirs. And for the last few minutes, quite alarmingly, Saints have been able to get up and play the ball that much quicker. And also, when they're tackling the Widnes players, just looking, they're controlling that ruck area, and the markers tend to work that bit harder than many of their opponents.
Phil, I just get the impression that this Widnes side, they work very hard in defence for periods of time, maybe 10 minutes, and then they just go to sleep, don't they?
Well, there were lapses in concentration that cost them dearly last week. You just think about when you think about when they were attacking early on in the game, after maybe 10-15 minutes, they threw the ball across. Didn't quite really, I'm not so sure, knew exactly what they were trying to do. Came up with a mistake. Saints went the length of the field and scored just a couple of blind balls later. Here's a forward pass going against St Helens. But I love to see the players they've got running off the ball. Many players would just expect the guy to run out of dummy half like Gilmore there and get tackled. But he offers himself as a whole runner, does Gardner. The pass is deemed to go forward, although I'm not too sure from that angle. Just causes so much problems for your defence though when you've got guys prepared to run as support players off the ball.
8 minutes to the break. Widnes need a try, and quickly too. This is Jules O'Neill, and Jules O'Neill nearly through. There was nobody there in support. Aaron Moore from dummy half, and he's through a couple. That's a couple of missed tackles by Saints. This is Millard, but Saints now in the shape of Fozzard and Stankovic muscling up in defence. Frame and Dion Bird driving it in. Good run from the fullback. Widnes fans on their feet hoping for a try here with Hay, and it was well taken by Finnegan under pressure from Gilmore. Andy Hay again. It's opened up for Andy Hay. Quickly closed by Gilmore and Stankovic. It's the last tackle here for Widnes. Can they get something? Millard. Oh! Hardman just picked that out like a cherry off a tree.
Well, he doesn't have to stand 5 yards, 5 metres, shall we say, when you're onto the line, and just as long as he keeps over that line of the dead in goal area, and he read it exceptionally well. As soon as it's played, a lot of people think that you've got to get back a full 10. You're not allowed to. As long as you're behind that line, you're okay.
And
but
it's just 1 foot on it, your back foot.
Yeah, and it's a wasted effort doing that, especially when they've got a man like Jules O'Neill out there. You've got to optimise the kick.
There was another missed tackle there on Willie Talau, and fortunately there were a couple of reinforcements for Widnes. Last tackle. This is a much better defensive stint from Widnes. It's with Sculthorpe though. He's inside the 40. Right down the throat of young Giles. Just a little fumble, but he manages to hang on. Taking on Gilmore on the outside. Chris Giles, of course, is one of the St Helens, or ex-St Helens men in this Widnes team tonight.
Well, you see there that Widnes in possession, and the Widnes players were just walking back. Very stereotyped. They've got to come up with something different. Maybe the chip over the top, but no sweeper, the Saints.
Good ball from O'Neill, right on the halfway line.
He's lost it.
It's a penalty. It was stolen.
Well, they're desperate now. The Vikings pump this into the corner.
They'll be even more desperate here because there's a man injured. It's Wozniak.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Willie Tellau certainly had the right arm all across the ball, try to appeal to the official.
And Edmondson also had his hands between the legs of the ball carrier, not allowed.
Yeah.
Could have got him either way there. Here's McCurry for Widnes on the restart.
Well, maybe do just something different, like even a simple run around, or run from dummy half and come back on the inside like they've just done.
This is Daniel Frayne. Hazard tracked him all the way. Tallau joined in the tackle as well. Millard. And O'Neill changes direction inside Stankovic, but defence there in numbers for Saints. Millard again. This is Wozniak, and it goes wide, and Moole has a man on the outside, and this is Rowlands, and Rowlands scores for Widnes. Just what they needed. Steve Rowlands, 19 years of age, another former St Helens utility back, and he scored his first try of the season against his former club.
And a lot more adventure there by the Vikings. Twisting, turning, offloading. You can see they pulled out of it. Wellens had 2 efforts to get through to the centre. They couldn't do it. Well finished. Remember, 3 tries they scored against the Leeds Rhinos on the wing, out wide. What a great effort that was. Moole's pass was superb. Rowland's finishing was good. Not the best by Darren Albert, but he won't care. They're on the scoreboard and they're in with a glimmer of a chance. Nothing better than to score just before the half-time break. Gives St Helens something to think about. It looked as though they were cruising. And he's worked hard, this fella.
Well, he is making his 90th appearance in the British game tonight. His next try will be his 30th. But in July of 2002, Jules O'Neill ran in 28 points against St Helens, but then he was playing for Wigan. 3 tries and 8 goals on that occasion. What would Neil Kelly and the Widnes fans give for similar from him tonight? Well, in the context of this game, this is a big kick, because right on the stroke of half-time we are, and 16-6, it is not then beyond the Widnes Vikings for the second half. And O'Neill knows it. That's why he's taking all the time he needs to line this kick up.
Want a lot more adventure, a lot more confidence. I mentioned the fact running on the angles and then back on the inside, and you know, you've got to ask the question, pose the question to the opposition, and they can break down, as St Helens did.
Big kick then from Jules O'Neill, trying to drift it over the posts. Great roar from the terraces. O'Neill has kicked it, and Widnes 6, St Helens 16. Still 10 points the difference, but much healthier for the Vikings. What a kick.
Boy. Nice little turn to the left.
Just drew it over the inside of the post.
He certainly knew it as soon as it left his boot. So did the fans as well. Well, they've had little to cheer about in the last 15 minutes, but that'll certainly lift not only the players' spirits, but their coach, Neil Kelly.
But there is still plenty of time for St Helens to post another try. Over 2 minutes of the first half remaining.
It's important that they must play out their full set of 6 here.
And the one thing, Brian Carney, you can say about St Helens is a little bit like with Wigan. They never know when the bell is coming, and they will keep going right to the 40.
Well, that's it. It's very important that Widnes, like Steve-O says, play out this set as we see the ball go to ground. And Saints have collected it. That is not what Widnes needed. Widnes needed to finish the game possibly, or finish the half possibly 10 points behind. But this could be trouble here.
It could. It is that rule again, of course. The St Helens player adjudged by the touch judge not to have made a play for the ball, but the ball bouncing out off him in the making of the tackle. So that's why St Helens have the possession, and they are 18 metres away from the Widnes line. Sculthorpe, great ball. Stankovic, it goes on to Hooper. It's all hands on deck in defence for Widnes here. 2 tackles remaining. Sculthorpe attacking the line, bullet pass wide, and Hardman will touch down for Saints. Hardman with the try for St Helens. Well, how often does it happen that a team scores a try against St Helens, and it's like poking a big stick in a hornet's nest, and they come straight back down the field and score a try themselves. But all
they had to do, Eddie, was keep control of this football. Why on earth do you go for a fancy pass like that? Eat the clock up. That rule, as Eddie mentioned, he went for the tackle, and from this, good work from Hardman to finish it off. But Neil Kelly, well, he'll be spitting chips, not because of the poor defence, but the mere fact that they were in control of the football. 4 or 5 drives, kick downfield, going at half-time with only 10 adrift. Now, the Mountain has got an extra 4,000 foot.
Sculthorpe lining up this kick. It's 20 points to 6 with this kick to come. Sculthorpe trying to drift it over the post a la O'Neill, and he has done it. 22-6. St Helens, you score against us, we will score up the other end immediately. And Ian Hardman, the young man who's been substitute in the last 2, 18 years of age, and he's come up with a priceless 4 points.
But Eddie, it was just poor football. You keep hold of possession, you regroup at the half-time. Now the heads will start to droop a little bit more than what should have been done. They didn't have to offload it.
There's the half-time siren. Jules O'Neill just drops the ball on the turf disconsolately, but Ian Hardman, his try right on the stroke of the half-time hooter, gives St Helens a comfortable lead to take with them into the half-time dressing room. 4 tries the Saints have run in, 1 from Widnes. Well, the personnel might have changed, but the story continues for St Helens. They lead at the break here at the Halton Stadium, 22 points to 6. Well, there's some cracking live rugby union coming up for you tomorrow. There's the second test action. Will England be able to bounce back from last week's disastrous result against the All Blacks? That's in the morning from 8, followed at 11 by the Aussies against Scotland. Then we go on to South Africa against Ireland. This is all live on Sky Sports 1. And then from 6 on Sky Sports 3, Argentina take on Wales. Here at the Halton Stadium, half-time. Widnes 6, St Helens 22. Names might change, positions might change, story stays the same for the Saints. And Neil Kelly in that Widnes dressing room, he knows his men started well. He knows they got back into the match with 4 minutes to go to half-time. Then they committed Harry-Carry, and they gave St Helens a gift of a try right on the bell of the 40 minutes. It doesn't seem to matter, does it, to St Helens, what personnel plays in which position. Just continues on. The entertainers of the Super League. A few missed tackles and 3 errors for the Saints. I suppose that is something that Widnes might take heart from. But you have to take your hat off to Ian Millward and St Helens. They lose 2 quality players just about for the rest of the season, Sean Long and Martin Gleeson, and they come out here and put on a performance that would be good enough to beat anyone. And Widnes, although they worked hard, started the first half, and towards the end they frittered away any advantage they had when they gifted the Saints that Ian Hardman try right on the stroke of half-time. And we were talking during the first half commentary with Brian Carney, who is here with us tonight from the Wigan Warriors. We were saying in the commentary, Brian, once this team gets on a roll, St Helens, they are very difficult to stop.
Absolutely. I've played in a lot of games against St Helens where they just keep coming, and there's very, very little you can do. I think, though, Widnes are their own worst enemies. For the first 15 minutes, they showed tremendous composure. They kicked the ball, chased downfield, and tackled hard. And that composure seemed to go out of their game towards the middle and end of the half, and we saw what happened.
I wonder if it was fatigue.
No, I don't think it's fatigue that forces you to throw balls that don't need to be thrown. I think it's a little bit of angst when you're maybe 16 points are scored against you, you're 10 points down, coming towards the half. You think maybe I'll force this ball. If it comes off, we'll go in at level at half time. But there was no need really to pass some of them balls that they've tried to pass.
Of course, as you say, if they come off, you're world beaters, you're a hero. They don't come off, you're a villain, and you're going to get the rounds of the kitchen from your coach.
Some would say that's the beauty of the game.
Absolutely. Here's another beauty of the game. Steve, what have you made of the first half?
Well, I think for everybody watching and everyone in rugby league that it's not how you start, but it's how you finish. And sooner Widnes find that out, the better, because after 15 minutes they controlled this game, and the kick would apply. This is about the 5th kick that O'Neill had put up through, and it looked as though Giles went there. Good refereeing decision. It was short. Hardman just got his hand there, and then the mistake which allowed the break for Hooper. Gilmore in for the try. It was Hooper that made all the breakthrough, and then Brian Carney.
Yeah, as we see, like Cunningham here, just he cuts them to pieces around the ruck. Wellens doing great work backing up, and then you got Darren Albert the flyer, and there's really nobody going to catch him from there. But it's all come from Kieran Cunningham.
The thing is, though, Brian, is that within 2 minutes these guys have hit back. This is the break from joint. It was a no try. Tallow nearly took it.
Yeah, it was a good effort by Willie Tallow. Chris Joint got a nice ball away. He was unfortunate. Look, we got a video rep, but here's this guy again, Kieran Cunningham. Just when Widnes were defending very, very well on their line, Kieran Cunningham powers over. When there's a lot of defenders there, he's just so hard to stop.
Well, he's like a dump truck, isn't he? And I mean, this is one situation where Mull, it was a great pass.
Absolutely. This is where it comes off. This is what we alluded to earlier. It comes off and you're a world beater, and it doesn't come off and your coach is pulling his hair out.
Well, they've scored the try. Now they should have been looking towards half-time, and then Mull tries an impossible pass. Okay, it's that new rule. The man was going into it, so they get possession. And what do? As they have done so many times over the past 2 or 3 seasons, Hardman in for the try. As I mentioned before, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. But Neil Kelly will be absolutely furious at the fact that they got back into the game. They were only 10 points adrift, and then they just lacked concentration.
Yes, concentration, a big word, but we knew before the match that Long and Gleeson wouldn't be playing. We didn't know just before the match that Cunningham would be playing in this St Helens side. Phil Clark, they lose Sean Long, they lose Martin Gleeson. They still have Sculthorpe, they still have Cunningham, and they've still got quality all around them.
Well, in addition to that, they've got great versatility throughout the whole club, haven't they? Several players sat in the stand who could play a variety of positions. I listened to David Waite speak to some coaches recently. He's the performance director for the Rugby League. What he tried to encourage them to do was to teach their players to recognise and react to situations on the game rather than play in a premeditated fashion. And what you think you've seen with St Helens is their ability to recognise and quickly react to the opportunities that they're presented with. Early in the game, though, the defence on their own line was fantastic, really. And Widnes had some chances, but perhaps became frustrated by that. Some great footwork here by Eddie Gardner, just dancing through a couple of tackles, and he is a threat when he has the ball in hand. Widnes came up with some good defence themselves, denied Paul Sculthorpe, and then as the game went on, we tried again to challenge, but a great decision-making by Lee Gilmore, defending out wide for the St Helens side. Maybe just that bit difference in class, really, telling between the two sides in the first half.
Okay, well, Widnes have got a lot to do in the second 40 minutes then if they're going to get back into this match. They trail St Helens by 22 points to 6 at half-time. Can they come back and get into it? Well, remember, in their first ever match in the Super League a couple of years ago, it was just 1 point in it at the end. Widnes are going to have to fight hard in this second 40. We're in the middle of another Super League weekend, and what a match for us on Saturday night at 6 on Sky Sports 2. Two of the biggest names in the business, Wigan and Leeds. Don't forget to join us for that. And two from the NRL as usual. Back to the NRL weekly business now. Manly Souths live in the morning at 10:30 on Sky Sports 2. 11 o'clock Sunday, it's the Dragons and the Tigers on Sky Sports 3. Right now, we said there was a big question mark hanging over the Saints. How would they react to events this week? Well, they have shown in 40 minutes that the names might change, but the circumstances stay the same. Only 6 penalties tonight in the match. The missed tackle count, though, for Widnes is alarming, 19. And in terms of top performers, Millard and Joint in the tackling, Aaron Moole and Willie Talau. But look, just 2 breaks from Widnes and 6 from the Saints. Well, the sun's setting at the Halton Stadium, but from a Widnes Vikings point of view, let's hope it's not setting on their hopes here tonight. The Saints are here in numbers. They've been galvanised by the events off the field. And Widnes in this second 40 minutes, Steve-O, faced a huge challenge.
They certainly do, Eddie, and I'm sure that Neil Kelly would have given them the rounds of the kitchen. And they needed it too. You cannot have 19 missed tackles in one half and expect to be involved in this game. They had the opportunity, as we said at half-time, just under 3 minutes ago. They'd scored the try, and what do? They give away possession, and St Helens bounce back. They can't afford to do that. I'm sure that Kelly would have worked hard on that. Ian Millwood, well, he'll be happy. It's been a good team effort. Everyone's working hard for each other.
Jules O'Neill, a Queenslander, saw Queensland square the State of Origin series on Wednesday, live on Sky Sports. And they really have to dig deep now, Widnes. Just wonder how St Helens will play it for the next 40 minutes. I wonder whether Kieran Cunningham, who came into this match with certainly a question mark hanging over his fitness, I wonder how long he will stay on. I think I'm right in saying that he was withdrawn after about 10 minutes of the second half against Castleford last week, and Ian Millwood quite concerned if he did any further damage, he would maybe lose him for the rest of the season. But he looks full of it, doesn't he, Cunningham?
Certainly does, but I'm sure that if St Helens score quite early, you may give him another 10 minutes and then say, come on, the game looks as though it's under control. He won't do it yet. He's a pretty shrewd operator, is Ian Millwood. He knows what an explosive player he is, but there you see him. He's not shirking, is he? He's looking for work, and he's going for the charge down too. All the time, and O'Neill's kick. That was the difference I noticed in the first half, Steve-O. The kicks that St Helens put in downfield bounced between the defenders. The Widnes kicks that went downfield bounced or went straight into the arms of the Saints defenders. And not only that, we saw even early in the game that the Widnes' kick and chase wasn't as good as St Helens. You look through all the basic things in rugby league football. Do your defence, make sure that you don't offload if it's a bit of a dodgy area. And once you do that, you're always in with a chance of winning the football game.
You're always in with a chance with the likes of Sculthorpe on the field, Cunningham on the field. Hooper's having a huge season as well. Talau, Wellens, Gardner. They have a penalty.
Well, again, lack of concentration. The official, Russell Smith, he's had a fine game as well as Russell. He's calling out all the time, and you can see O'Neill trying to turtle Paul Sculthorpe. He gave him plenty of warning, did the official.
Well, you don't gift St Helens the extra set of 6. Oh, it's stolen by O'Neill now. 2 and 1. That's another penalty to St Helens.
Well, he claims that O'Neill and Troy Wozniak was also involved in the tackle. I think he's got it right. Frame missed him, and as soon as that ball came away, Wozniak had joined in the party.
Well, St Helens are looking to finish them off early. They're running it. Looked a little suspicious, the pass, but Stankovic will take the tackle 20 metres away. Sculthorpe waits. He's got Fozzard out right. He had Stankovic on his inside, and Edmondson even further inside. This is Cunningham, and it's now Edmondson. The big forwards doing their job. 3 tackles gone. And Relf is penalised now, and I think the referee will call the captain.
Well, he has to, surely.
3 penalties in quick succession.
Well,
and this time Paul Sculthorpe will kick for goal.
Not happy with the decision.
Relf, I think, is claiming that his arm was trapped underneath, but it wasn't. It was underneath the arm of Mark Edmondson.
Well, you can claim all you like, but you can see quite clearly he could have got the arm away very, very quickly if he wanted to. And not surprisingly, Paul Sculthorpe will say we'll just stretch this lead.
Robert Ralph, you can see there he missed last week's match for Widnes. Would you believe that was his first absence in 3 seasons?
He's a tough nugget, isn't he?
He is.
He works hard. And let's hope that Neil Kelly has sort of instilled a little bit more enthusiasm as well as a little bit more knowledge, because they've certainly got to start doing things a little bit different, especially if this goes over and makes it 24-6. They've got to just throw caution to the wind, be a little bit adventurous.
Sculthorpe, it's easy for him. 24 points to 6. Let's go down to the sideline, because Bill Arthur has got Paul Aitchison of Widnes with him, but Paul once upon a time with St Helens.
That's right, Eddie, out with a rib injury at the moment, and Paul Widnes must be kicking themselves to get back to 16-6 just before the break, and now find them in this situation 24-6 down.
That's right, Bill. I mean, to score just a couple of minutes before half time, especially when we'd pulled back after not playing, the world's best rugby league. And obviously Saints come on first couple of minutes of the second half, come away with a penalty kick there. Now we're backs against the walls here. We've got to sort of start to control the ball. It looks like Russell's got his eye in for picking up penalties as well, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that.
They don't seem to be missing Sean Long and Martin Gleeson too much, do they?
They don't know. I mean, plenty of distractions this week for the Saints side, but they've come out all guns blazing, and they're playing some great rugby league. Kieran Cunningham's having one of his classic games, and I think Paul Sculthorpe and Paul Wellens are going really well.
Is there a way back for Widnes?
Let's hope so, Bill. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think we've just got to control set to 6. We've worked hard on defence over the past few weeks, control the speed of the play. The ball, we seem to be doing that. At the moment, we seem to be lacking with controlling the actual set to 6, throwing the ball away in silly places. Just need to play a set of 6, get a good kick, good chase.
Thanks, Paul.
Cheers, Bill.
Paul Aitchison with Bill Arthur, former Great Britain international, 16 caps for Wales, and 70 of his almost 300 career appearances were made in the colours of St Helens. This is a better run from Giles for Widnes.
They've shown on a few occasions to wingers, Giles and Rowlands, that if they get the opportunity, they can score tries. Problem is they're not building down the middle.
And they don't really get over the advantage line with any ease, do they? It's a struggle for them to break through.
The biggest problem that Neil Kelly has is the fact that all the opposition, everyone that plays against Widnes, they realise if they can shut down Jules O'Neill, they've virtually shut the team down. That's
a better kick from O'Neill, though. And there's work here for Gardner to do, but Rowlands couldn't get to him and force him over the try line.
Well, that should be a penalty. He should have played that ball and hesitated.
You really feigned to play it, didn't he?
That should have been a penalty. That was very slow. Ian Millwood will get the message out on that one. Say, hey, come on. 24-6 maybe. Oh, swinging out there from Shane Millard.
Good job, Sculthorpe ducked ahead. Here's Cunningham. Here's Edmondson. I'm sure that set of 6 here by Widnes in defence.
I'm sure that St Helens just go back to the basic principles of getting the hard work down, and but
here they come though. Wide. They're running this on the last forward pass.
Well spotted by the official. It's a good job as well, because he was away. Ian Hardman. Good play by Gilmore. No stranger to the no doubt about it going forward. No stranger to playing in the centre, but one of the major reasons why he left Bradford to come to St Helens is that Ian Millwood said that he wanted to play him as a forward, which is his favourite position, I must say.
But he has played Test football as a centre.
Oh, yes.
Don't forget that.
Yeah, I'm fully aware of that. I think it's good to think that in a situation where they've lost 2 key players and still got a few injuries as well, that you get to, you've got to accept it, be a true professional, and that is one thing that he is Lee Gilmore. Works very, very hard. They're a great team worker.
Let's get back to Bill.
Eddie, just one piece of news from the Saints camp. Jason Hooper not reappearing at the start of this second half, but he is all right. He did get a bang midway through that first half, carried on, but they've decided to give him a break. He's just been warming up down the sidelines. He's given the thumbs up to the physio to say he's okay to carry on.
Millard, the dummy half. Jules O'Neill. Finnegan. Only spun out of one tackle, but Cunningham is there in defence. Andy Hay on the last, finds O'Neill. Kick to the corner from O'Neill. Rowlands is after this, but Gardner
just took it in the in-goal area before going over the whitewash. Pretty confident about it. Only just though.
Gardner away from dummy half. Here is Fozzard. Another difference, Steve-O, in the two sides. When St Helens get the ball, they're moving. Look. Oh dear. That was high from Weston.
Stankovic fell down.
Craig Weston is on thin ice here.
More of a reaction. Didn't see much swinging arm in that.
I think it's going to go on report, Steve.
Yeah. I think it looked a lot worse than what it was. Bit of a flat hand as well.
Referee wants the touch judge to come over with the two captains and Craig Weston.
Interesting to see there that Paul Sculthorpe.
It's not a good attempt. You know that, and I know that. It appeared to be a flat hand. It didn't appear to be a deliberate stiff arm or anything. We just need extreme care from you, from here on in, Craig, OK? It's going on the court, OK?
That will be looked at again.
As I was just saying, Paul Sculthorpe just looked at Craig Weston as the official was bringing them two together, and he said, I don't think it was much. He's a pretty fair player as well, isn't he, Paul Sculthorpe?
Yeah, and another word about Paul Sculthorpe. He missed training yesterday with a bout of the flu, so he's doing it tough tonight, is Sculthorpe. Touch of that sweeping the camp in St Helens, but it doesn't seem to have caused them too many problems so far. Harden. Well, Widnes have to muscle up in defence. Cunningham. Runner is Mason. Eventually they haul him down. McCurry and Miller.
Oh, that was
well,
a
he
nice
went
shot.
to the dying swan and a knock on anyway.
Well, that'll defuse the issue. Looked as though it was going to get nasty there. Little doubt that Keith Mason lashed out. He wouldn't know if there's anyone there. He plays it tough.
Come out of it. Come out of it.
Well, it wasn't a knock-on to start with. It was Shane Millard that got the fingertips to it. But
well, it's McCurry who's got the bloody face, but it was Millard, wasn't it, who got the boot in the face?
no, I think.
Or was it McCurry?
It was McCurry. He went down and then swung around. You'll see that Millard goes through McCurry, and then what is it?
Oh,
Yeah, it is Millard. Yeah.
Well, after all that, St Helens have a penalty here.
Well, to be fair to
It was for offside, I think.
Keith Mason, he wouldn't know that anyone was there. He was just kicking, trying to get himself onto the ground.
Here's Sculthorpe. Here's Darren Albert. Great tackle by O'Neill.
Unbelievable effort there by his captain.
Sculthorpe. Wellens. Steve McCurry with the bang in the mouth. Carrying on. Sculthorpe again. What a pass. Mason. What a pass from Sculthorpe to Mason. Keith Mason with the try, but put it down to the sheer brilliance of Paul Sculthorpe. He just flicked it up. He knew Mason was coming.
Well, he could have gone the other way. Here's the tackle. Millard gets it fair and square in there, but as I say, he didn't know that anyone was going to be there. But look at the pass on the inside. They anticipated that Sculthorpe was going to kick. That's the quality of this side and the quality of Paul Sculthorpe. Wasn't man of steel twice for nothing. And he's come a long way, this fella, the front forward, Keith Mason.
One of the big improvers of 2004, Keith Mason. And his only other try for Saints was on this ground last August. Keith Mason, Welsh international forward. A Tri-Nations prospect, there's no doubt. And here's a Tri-Nations cert if he's fit. And Sculthorpe adds the extras, 30 points to 6. Looks like Saints, Phil Clark, almost home and hosed.
It is, yeah. We see, I think you were just talking about Paul Schoolthorpe there. I don't know if anybody other than Paul Schoolthorpe knows just how good he's going to be this season, especially now losing Sean Long, but maybe that's what they rely on more of him. And although he's off the field at the moment, I just want to give Chris Joynt a mention. You know, he's invariably their top tackler, and the fact that when he's working in defence, just watch when he's on the field, the speed of the line, the players move up so quickly around him. He's probably their defensive captain, and although we're amazed by their attacking skills, it's the defensive platform really that sets so much of that up.
Yeah, it's a point I'd like to raise with Brian Carney. You know, we all talk about this wonderful St Helens attacking force, but over the past 5 years or so, first under Ellery Hanley, it has to be said, and now under Ian Millwood, they are quite a defensive unit as well, aren't they?
Absolutely. They're very, very hard to penetrate. You got the likes of Chris Joynt in there, who's week in, week out, he's putting the tackles in, and he's shoring up the defence. So they're very hard. It's hard to see where Widnes today are going to make a break, and that's the unfortunate thing. They're defending quite well. I mean, we're 53 minutes into the game. I think they've only conceded that try in the second half so far, but you can't see where they're going to score points to win this.
Well, maybe here on the break from Moore, but look at the defensive effort from Albert and from Wellens there. And a knock on. Was it no? Hands
Penalty.
in the rug. Penalty Widnes.
Messing around there. But it shows the quality of the St Helens side, that not only just with a solid one-out defence, it's the way that they can spread, go across and help each other. Of course, Wellens and Albert know quite a lot about being the last line of defence, but it's that enthusiasm when they haven't got the ball that counts as well.
Wozniak got through one, but Mason was there to bring him down. Millard, oh, not the best pass. Little bit of momentum lost. Bird. Now then, Ralph. Oh, and
Could have been a chef.
could easily have been Millard on the run through. Neil Kelly anxiously watching, needs a try. O'Neill, wide to Moore. Aaron Moore will get one. Well, we've just praised the St Helens defence, and the St Helens defence has gone to sleep. But Aaron Moore escaped the clutches, and that was what they needed, Widnes. Now then, can they hang on for the next set of 6 and not concede another to Saints?
Well, at the risk of repeating myself, it's just the fact that Widnes have this quality when they get the ball out wide. The beautiful pass there from O'Neill, and one of the rare occasions that Widnes have utilised 2 dummy runners. Watch when O'Neill gets it. See how the 2 have come in between. Okay, Wellens slipped off him. Good effort from Moore, quality player. Utilising the man. See how they come through. It just makes the defence hesitate, and you take the opportunity. Once again, Widnes score a try out wide.
Aaron Moore, 27 on Sunday, his first ever try for Widnes, and that's remarkable really, because he's played centre in each of the last 13 matches. He's a former Melbourne Storm star, and you know, only Marcus Bai now at Leeds and Matt Geyer have scored more tries for Melbourne Storm in their entire history. Jules O'Neill, well, he had a difficult conversion attempt earlier, kicked that. Can he do the same here and cut the deficit down to 3 converted tries? 30 points to 10, this for 30-12. Got a chance. In off the post. 2 points for Jules O'Neill. 13 points to 12 it is.
They all count. As I mentioned, in the first half, it was non-existent, the dummy runners. But on this occasion, see how it just makes him hesitate. Wellens was having to go into his right, and that put him off balance. Sufficient enough for Moole to sneak in.
Well, Neil Kelly, the former coach of the year in 2002, the year after Widnes finished 7th in their first year back in Super League, and Stuart Spruce's new assistant will be hoping that this time Widnes can hang on in this set of 6. Andy Hay and Stankiewicz and Mauri Fasavalu. O'Neill, that's a better run from the big prop.
That's what's needed throughout this game from Widnes. Get over that advantage line. It's amazing what a try can do to you.
And Ralph hit that ball, and he was actually moving. This is Finnegan. Through Talau, tried to get the ball away. He's done it again. They've come up again with an impossible pass in the very next set of 6 after they've scored the try. They did that right on the bell in the first half.
Why on earth do they want to try to do that? Cannot believe it. You've got to get yourself field position. And that is also the difference between the two. And now, St. Helens have done it.
Knock on both ways there, knock on both ways. I wonder which will be the first. Widnes claiming it went backwards from them.
I think it did as well. I think this might be head and feet to Widnes.
That's back, that's back. Widnes head.
As it reefed away.
It's Widnes' head and feet, I think he's just said on his mic.
Yeah, that's a knock on. Went forward, just lost control. Well,
Widnes escaped.
Not only that, it looks as though St. Helens now want to get a carbon copy of it. But it must be so disheartening for Neil Kelly. They come up with a lovely try, and then, like they did in the first half,
Finnegan, great tackle, Darren Albert.
Just trying to make up for the mistake. Is Finnegan there?
This is Myler.
That looked high as well. That was a high shot on Myler.
This is Millard. Oh, he's lost it.
No advantage. Well, he tries hard as this fella, Shane Millard. It's no coincidence that when Millard's out there messing around with Sculthorpe, this is Myler getting the one. Sculthorpe came in late.
He was
First one was all right.
Stephen Myler, wasn't he?
Well, no, the first one was okay. It was Sculthorpe that swept him up right in the chops.
Darren Albert, Paul Wellens. I must say that Wellens, Steve-O, is not as effective at scrum half as he is at full-back.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, the guy doesn't have that the speed from a standing start. But once you put him down into the full-back position, when he gets the ball, it takes 3 or 4 strides to get him to full speed. And that's the difference. That's why there's half-backs and there's full-backs. But you've got to credit this Ian Millwood coach. He makes his players play every position. I mean, we've seen prop forwards play out in the standing-up position.
Indeed.
On the base of the scrum.
That's the last tackle, and Cunningham is still out there with nearly an hour on the clock. This is Sculthorpe. There's the little dink. Again into open space. He's asking questions of Steve Rowlands, and he comes up with a good run. He's got Wellens to beat. It is a penalty to St. Helens.
Well, someone was pulling someone back, evidently. Well, that's a shame. Because the winger did exceptionally well here, didn't he? Impressed me is this fella, Steve Rowlands.
Well, he said it was Aaron Moore.
There's only a little bit of a tug. And Keith Mason shakes his head. They go for the tap, which is not surprising. Right, where's the big fellas?
Well, they're lined up across the field. Mason is their first receiver. It's Cunningham again. Oh, he's lost it. Well, that is much better in defence, and Cunningham now has a cut eye.
Well, this is good work from the winger, and then it's a stupid penalty. Watch this. Just crowd. What on earth is it? I mean, when you add all the missed tackles, all the mistakes, and they give away a silly penalty like that, this was the result of it. Cunningham tried to get the ball down. It would have been far better to have just stuck onto it with the new rule. He would have gone back to the play the ball issue. High shot.
And he wants a word with Keith Mason. Get the hands lower, he says.
Wouldn't surprise me if Ian Millwood removes the prop forward, Keith Mason.
He only is just back from a recent period of suspension.
And that's the reason why I think he may say have a little bit of a rest.
But a gutsy second half from Widnes, Phil.
Oh, it's a great effort. I think the penalty there from Aaron Moore, I think it probably comes as a result of the frustration. He's a talented player who maybe hasn't had the opportunities he would have liked. You know, he used to average a try every 2 games in Australia, and that's the first one you've seen him score here for Widnes. So he just wants more possession, but it's inexcusable really when they had such a good run from Steve Rowlands.
And Wozniak, that ball comes free again. It's a knock on.
Well, it was a dangerous swinging arm yet again from the prop forward Mason. And, well, it surprises me that Ian Millward doesn't hit the shoulder first, but the mere fact is losing it. He's losing the plot a little bit now.
Widnes fans saw the replay on the big screen and were perplexed and annoyed that Russell Smith hadn't given the penalty against Keith Mason. Good hands, great hands.
Brilliant.
This is Hardman. Cunningham comes off. What an evening's work he's done for an hour.
Do you know that little
This
pass?
now is Mari Fasavalu, and he keeps it going to Sculthorpe. Brilliant hands again from the captain to Wellens.
I'm just making the point, Eddie, that passage of play with the slick hands was worth the admission money all on its own. Superb control.
Hooper's back out there, as you see. Here's Wellens. Oh, almost got it away to Mason. Tackle was completed by Wozniak. Here's Sculthorpe. Pass to Talau. He bounces off one, flicks it back to Sculthorpe. Little dink over the top. This is dangerous. And Dion Bird sweeps up. Myler, the dummy half.
Good
Can
effort
Widnes now attack from deep. Here goes Giles.
Well, it's certainly lifted the tempo. Quite a few of the players out there having a few burbles. Let's hope that Mr. Smith has got full control of this. He's had a fine game, you know, the referee. I know it's unusual for me to heap praise on the merry whistleblower, but he's kept it going. He's been talking non-stop to these players.
Hoof downfield, and that is into open space between Gardner and Albert.
That's much better. What's the chase like? Is it slow? There's 4 there.
But they still have the space to give it to Darren Albert, one of the quickest in the business.
But that's the problem, you see. If you're going to have a good chase, you don't have 4 just going up down on the right-hand side. You've got to make it into a curve. You've got to force them back into a very tight area. Now you see them, they're already on the 30-metre line.
Well, Sculthorpe picked that up. How did he keep that from going forward?
He probably used his fingers.
Stankovic. That's dropped. Knock on this time against John Stankovic.
And he's claiming that Mill's got a fingertip to it.
There is such depth at St Helens. I know that they are, what, second in the table behind Leeds at the moment. But for the rest of them, Brian Carney is here, and of course he will hope that he's back in about 4 weeks to help Wigan's quest for a place at Old Trafford. Brian, it's frightening as far as the rest of you are concerned, the depth that Saints have got.
Yeah, they've got a great squad, but as regards this game, Widnes are playing quite well. I mean, they gave away a penalty on the 0 tackle. They've coughed up a ball on the 3rd tackle, but apart from that, they're playing quite well. They just need to start completing a couple of their sets and really getting to the kick, letting Julian O'Neill put one of them big kicks up or one of them little kicks in the in-goal. Otherwise, they're not playing that bad.
And all they need to try, really.
A try would be great for the game right now.
And they might get one. The ball round the corner from Bird, but great defence again from Hardman. There was nowhere for Weston to go then. Here is the last tackle, and there is the high kick from O'Neill. Oh, and Albert. Well, the referee called on them all to give him 10 metres.
Well, they were all in front of the kicker. That's the reason why you couldn't see anyone rushing onto the man taking the ball. But
here's Gilmore.
I just fear for this Vikings defence now. They're looking very tired. They're desperately trying to keep the ball handler on his back, try to slow things down.
Brian Carney's Wigan against the league leaders, the Leeds Rhinos, live from the Tetley Super League Sky Sports 2 tomorrow night from 6. Here's Hooper for St Helens, trying to weave the magic.
What a great season he's had. Jason Hooper, who really has been one of the most consistent players in a St. Helens shirt.
Another good kick from Sculthorpe. Dion Bird with some work to do, does it bravely.
That'll be a penalty if they continue on with it. Vasavalo certainly looked as though he was going to drag him over.
Oof. Mason piling in again. But Moole was on the deck and bouncing. Here is Giles.
This is another important factor about this St. Helens outfit. The game is won, they know that, 30 points to 12, and yet, look how their defence is going in on an angle, forcing Widnes into one-out football all the time.
Brian Carney's desperate to make a point.
Yeah, Shane Millard's defence needs a mention here. It's absolutely outstanding. He's playing at number 9. You know, he's got a lot of work to do, but he's doing doubles and trebles all the time. Now we've got to see there's very, very little Widnes chase here, which could be a problem. This is what St. Helens relish.
Particularly with a man like Albert on the ball, the quickest in the business, now that Brian Carney is sidelined. Willie Talau. Hooper comes down the left-hand channel.
He just knows when to calm things down, as Jason Hooper, the experience, working hard on the tight blind side. They do that. Oh, big problem there, I think, for Daniel Frame. Went into the tackle and then grabbed the arm.
Mason, big screen for forward, didn't come. Took the chance, gave it to Sculthorpe, who offloads it to Stankovic. Support from Stankovic on his inside. Bounces back to Sculthorpe. He'll score. It's just outstanding, the talent in this St. Helens side. And there is one of the biggest talents, not only in the Saints team, but in the entire British game, Paul Sculthorpe. And Ian Millwood on his way down to the side, as he does every time they're away from home with about 10 minutes to go. He does it at Nosey Road now and again too.
Well, good work from Mason here. See how he sucks in 4 would-be defenders. Okay, Sculthorpe had to reach for it. Stankovic, nice little dummy, but you can see they're in all sorts of problems. They were queuing up. It's also a good sign of a great outfit when they just want to be there, queuing outside. Come on, get to it. Look how the big prop forward sucks in 4 would-be defenders there. They're all at sea, not the best from Dion Bird. A little bit high, but not effective. Thank you very much. That capped off a very good performance by this guy. Fully deserved it. Controlled it ever so well in the opening 20 minutes with a kick. Put them in good possession, good field position as well. An outstanding player. One of the greats.
Wimbledon just round the corner, and I think that Paul Sculthorpe tries game, set and match to the Saints. And his 97th try, by the way, for Paul Sculthorpe, as Kieran Cunningham and Ian Millwood have a little debate, with Cunningham well bandaged up round the head. Here's the try scorer, 5 from 6 tonight. Could be going home with the watch, as well as the 2 points. But he's missed that one. 34-12.
Wouldn't surprise me, Eddie, if he does pick up this award. Won't be the first time that he's got a tic-tac on his wrist. Interesting to see there that Ian Millwood and, as you mentioned, Eddie, Kieran Cunningham, just having a bit of debate and hands moving around. I presume they were talking about the football and not how he was going to apply the stitches into the cut.
Let's hope not. Cunningham looks like he was pretty anxious to return to the fray as well.
Well, I think it would be pointless actually at 34-12. Especially you keep mentioning that he's not fully fit. He knows that. It is a big gamble with his leg injury.
Great run. Here's Talau.
About 150 kilos of Samoan beef after coming on the field here, and I don't think that'll be welcomed by the Widnes defence.
This is Hooper. Wilkin. Tackled high by Andy Hobson.
Certainly didn't miss him. He knows he's given away a silly penalty. It's so difficult for any side. I think that the Vikings knew, and I think a lot of the fans knew as well, that when St. Helens, this is a swinging shot, St. Helens, when Hardman scored just before half-time, that was virtually it.
Here's Funati, just on for young Hardman. Hooper, and Wilkin, hauled down by Millard and Andy Hodgson.
What's
the referee given here? Another penalty to St. Helens.
Well, watch for Sculthorpe coming in on the angle here.
It's Mauri Farsavalu. Well, that's got to be a penalty to Widnes, because you're not allowed to do that anymore, Mauri.
Well, I think he just made a mistake there. I don't think he intended to tap the ball forward into play the ball area.
Well, Widnes will be happy to receive that penalty. They're on the wrong end of the penalty count.
But they've given away so many silly ones as well, in a vital position. Pretty good tackle there from Mason as well. Look how that defence is moving up. You'd think, wouldn't you, 72 minutes gone, nearly 73, 34-12. They'll be looking for a rest, not this mob.
The penalty count in the match at Knowsley Road in round 3, by the way, was 18-14 in St. Helens' favour. This is Millard again. O'Neill, and wide to Myler, and back it goes to Dion Bird, who brushes one tackle off, but Sculthorpe's there to complete the fifth.
Bit of a problem for a Saints player down there. I can't just...
Gilmore it is. Poor kick from Myler there, though.
See, that's a much better chase on that occasion.
But the Widnes kicking game's been poor.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Phil?
To a certain extent, although I'll tell you what has been impressed with that the second half performance. I think, what's the scoreline at the moment? 12 points to 6 in favour of St. Helens. When you think of the last 2 weeks we've seen Widnes play against perhaps the best 2 teams in this league at present, we've seen that they've certainly got the character. They will no longer capitulate as they did at the KC Stadium 3 weeks ago when they played Hull. But they made themselves a tougher team. In the first half of the season they've come up with 4 wins, and with the second half to go, with another 4 wins, they'll certainly be safe.
Great hands again. Hooper, he's got support, and Wozniak brings Edmondson down. It's the last one.
I think they go for the power play here.
It's Sculthorpe and Wilkin. Now he's touched that down, and I think momentum's taking him home.
He'll give this. The ball carrying arm did not hit the deck. I think he'll be given.
A little wink from Wilkin. He believes it's all right.
Watch the ball carrying arm. Bang, and then moves. All in one movement. To me, that's sufficient. That's a try.
It's whether he was moving as well.
Yeah.
He's had enough. He's seen enough. The video ref. Try's given. Wilkin gets another 4 for St. Helens. This has been a hugely creditable win, you know, for St. Helens after the traumas of yesterday.
It certainly is, and it just shows you that they can dig deep. Thought they might go for a power play. There's a couple of occasions where Widnes have held back every time Sculthorpe had the ball, anticipating the kick. Sheer quality of the man. Wilkin, and they love Scully. And they love their team, don't they?
John Wilkin with the latest try. He's featured in the last 5 since coming back from 4 games out suspended. And Sculthorpe will add 2 more. 14 points to 12. And Sculthorpe immediately comes to the side. I think he has done enough, but has he done enough to win the watch? Dave Hadfield.
He could certainly have done enough to win it, but first a little word of commendation even for Aaron Moole. He might have thrown a pass he shouldn't have done before half-time, but he made a try and scored a try. Some great chasing in defence. He could have given it to Sculthorpe today. He could have given it to Kieran Cunningham. They've both been outstanding on what could have been a difficult night, but the man who's got the nod is Nick Fozzard. We felt that he laid the foundation in the first 50-odd minutes. He can treat this watch as a bit of extra strapping for his arm.
Well, I hope he's got a big strap on it, because it's got to go round a huge pad. But Nick Fozzard not on the field at the moment for Saints, but has done enough, according to the members of the media who have the vote, to go home with the watch. And Stan Wall just gives him a playful pat across the face.
Well,
Can't believe he's got the watch.
Yeah, he can't, because he looked at Stan Wall and said, "You're kidding, have I?" But to be fair, we mentioned quite a few occasions in the first half, Eddie, is that Ian Millwood has gone back to the tactics that he did in the first 6 or 7 rounds of the Super League, in as much that he made sure that the likes of Fozzard and Mason were getting over that advantage line, quick play of the ball, and when you've got the likes of Cunningham behind you, they know they can just pinch so much metres forward.
Look at the chase from St Helens. It's enthusiastic even at this late stage of the match.
And you add to that is the fact that not just where the area of the man receiving the football, it's way out wide, way out on the left-hand side, and Widnes said, how many have they got on their outfit? How many have they got in the side? I can assure them there's only 13, but it looks more, doesn't it?
Brian Carney, you have to take your hats off to St Helens. I know the Wigan fans would never want you to, but you must.
Yeah, well, I'm not wearing one today, but Ian Millward will be very pleased with how professional St Helens have been. They've got Mickey Hyam and Tim Yonkers and Mike Bennett to come back to this team, and that's probably the nucleus of their squad for the season. And if they can put 40 points to 12 on a near full-strength Widnes team, having just learned that they're losing 2 of their best players for the rest of the season, that's very, very impressive.
Yes, it's a hugely impressive performance, but Dion Bird, and I think we ought to also credit Widnes. They haven't thrown the towel in this second half. Phil Clark made that point, Brian.
Absolutely. Neil Kelly will be looking at the video probably tonight and tomorrow morning, and he'll show them there's passages of this game where Widnes have played quite well, but again they lack that word composure sometimes. You know, they force the balls when they didn't need to, and at times their chase probably hasn't been the best, and you really have to have a good kick chase against St Helens.
Yes, the Widnes kick chase would be one area of the match, I think, Steve-O, that Neil Kelly would be anything but happy with. Good hands though there, out wide to Giles.
Well, they do have the ability to skip the ball out wide, but as I say, it's been quite easy for the St Helens defence, mainly due to the fact that, you know, the Widnes forwards aren't working hard enough to pull the Saints defence into the middle of the area, and then when you go out wide, you've got an opportunity.
And there's the kick from Julian O'Neill, but it's too deep, and it was easy for Fuanati.
Well, they're a very tired outfit now, Widnes, but
well, St Helens looking to add extras onto the scoreboard with Gilmore.
And full credit to this Widnes outfit, as I say, they've worked pretty hard. They kept St Helens quiet for long periods in this game, but as we keep mentioning, they just have this ability to either throw a silly pass, give away a silly penalty, and you can't build on anything like that.
Fuanati. Tackled by O'Neill and Mills. The referee shouts held. The big fella hit the deck anyway.
To be fair, you know, Jules O'Neill has worked hard both in attack and defence.
But his kicking tonight has been slightly awry.
Certainly has. It's not the best.
Oh, and here comes Vassavalu, and Albert was on the end of that. Oh. He got a kick in the back of his head then by Edmondson.
Edmond says, kicked him right at the backside, I think it was, and said, play the ball, get on with it.
Kick out wide, flick back, it's still on the last. Widnes have it, just. There's the siren, it's all over. Another victory for St Helens. They have had to rejig in the past 24 hours. Ian Millwood named 2 teams yesterday in the event that Long and Gleeson would pick up a suspension. He named the second this morning, and then he even tinkered with that just before when Cunningham was brought in. And that was the difference, really. St Helens 40, Widnes 12. A great win in the circumstances for St Helens. The circumstances of the past 24 hours. They've beaten Widnes by 40 points to 12. He didn't believe it, but Nick Fozzard has won the Tissot Watches Man of the Match. Here he is with Bill.
Nick, congratulations on a man of the match performance. Given the build-up that the side had to this game, how difficult was it?
Oh, it was pretty hard, but first of all, I'd just like to dedicate that match, that win to Sean and Martin. Yeah, it was a tough game. We knew it was going to be tough going to Widnes. It's a local derby. Widnes always lift the game to play against us, and it always takes a good performance from us to, to knock them over, and we've done it again tonight.
One or two of your teammates unkindly have suggested, oh, he's a prop forward, give him an egg timer. Well done on this one. You enjoyed that game?
Oh yeah, sure. I've been after a watch for a while now, so thanks so much, Tissot. I really appreciate it.
Well done, Nick.
No worries. Cheers, mate.
Well, I looked at the eyes and the face of Nick Fossard then as Bill was asking that last question. He's a braver man than I. Phil Clark on the sideline, impressive. The only word for Saints tonight.
Yes, it was. I thought they really showed the difference in the class between the two sides. But Widnes, they did some good things as well. They've improved in the last 3 weeks since we last saw them. Absolutely annihilated against Hull, and if they continue with that improvement and development, then they'll be a threat to a lot of sides throughout the remainder of the season. Sheer class at the end of the day, and maybe the character coming through from the St Helens squad, which might carry them all the way to Old Trafford.
All the way to Old Trafford. I wonder, with all their problems over the past 24 hours, what a win for Ian Millward's men. Here's the coach.
Ian, you couldn't have wished for a better response given what the build-up had been.
Oh, the guys are fantastic, very professional performance. So there was a lot to like about what we did, and we gained momentum as the game got on. It's a really hard place to come here, even though it's a full-size pitch. The crowd's very intimidating, and it was a fantastic atmosphere, and we always have to play very well to beat them, and we did that today.
Can you let out a big breath now, maybe just relax after the week you've had?
Mate, since game one we had to play Hull at home, which is a huge game. Then we had to play Bradford in the first round of Challenge Cup. It's been week in, week out for us, but it's very, very hard to maintain that intensity. So a lot of credit's got to go to the players. It's a fantastic performance, and we've only lost 2 games this year, and one of them was we had a depleted team. So the guys really stood up again today, and they do that week in, week out, and that's all you can ask for a coach and a supporter and a board of directors, and they've been fantastic.
Thank you,
Tom.
Yes, he makes a very good point there. They've only lost twice this year, and they, St Helens, are the only team as yet to have beaten the league leaders, the Leeds Rhinos, so far. You'd be hoping that might change tomorrow against Wigan, but they're a great side, Saints, aren't they? Great side.
Absolutely, and Ian Millward summed it up there when he called the performance professional. You'd be very happy if your coach came off saying that. They did almost everything that he wanted them to do, and came to, as he said, a difficult place, and came away with a comfortable win, so he'd be very happy.
And the defence was magnificent. OK, they fling the ball around. It's wonderful to watch, but they don't half muscle up in defence.
You only had to look at the defence in the last 10 minutes of the game to show how keen they were to defend. If a team 40 points to the good, well, I don't know if they scored 40 points, some of it 28 in the difference. It defends like that in the last 10 minutes. That's evidence of how much they want to win the game, and how cutthroat they're going to be in their performance.
They have a lot of desire, Steve-O, don't they? They went through last year without a trophy. All right, they've put that right now. They've got the Challenge Cup. They want Old Trafford.
Yeah, they certainly do. They wanted to get the balance even. They realised, though, today that they had just absolute control of this game. OK, Widnes did play well at certain times, but I mentioned at half-time, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. But I must say that this St Helens outfit, they get stronger, they work hard for each other, they've got great team spirit, and when this fella is in top form, Sculthorpe, look at that. It was the 3rd occasion that Widnes thought perhaps he was going to go for the kick, but he didn't. He just went for the power play, the little pass on the inside, the little pass over the top. He's a very, very talented player, but I think that Ian Millward also said it all by the fact that a lot has to go to his players, but a lot has to go to the coach as well, because he has certainly moulded them into a very, very good professional outfit, but it was the composure that carried the day.
Well, Leeds can now maybe feel the Saints breathing down their neck. They are just 3 points adrift. Leeds will play Wigan tomorrow at the JJB Stadium. If Wigan do their arch-rivals a favour, Saints will be 3 points behind Leeds, crucially with a game in hand. Brian, you're going to be a spectator at Wigan as you were tonight with us here at Widnes. Can your boys do it? Can they beat Leeds as Saints have done?
Of course we can. We can win the game, definitely. I think it'll go off tomorrow night. I think it'll be a great game. We usually have pretty good games against Leeds. We had a few good ones last year. They did us at Headingley earlier on, but we know how important this game is. We don't want to go 11 points behind Leeds.
And of course, you're on the run of 4 home games in a row. The assault on the top 4 is building.
Yeah, and you got to win your home games. That's where you can really start massing up the points. So yeah, we're going all out for a win and we're confident we can do it.
Okay, Wigan are 100% record at home, Steve-O. I know you've tipped Leeds all year. What about tomorrow?
Yeah, I think that this is the opportunity for Leeds to show that their supporters that it's not a false dawn, yet again, that they can do it, but they have to do it very, very well. For so many years, you know, every time they come over the Pennines, they have struggled. Tomorrow, they've got to stand up and be counted and to show everybody that they are capable of going all the way to the grand final.
Okay, let's take a look then at what is still to come here on Sky Sports this evening. We have more live action over on Sky Sports 2 right now. It's live US Open Golf. And here on Sky Sports 2 next, it's the live football phone-in. You're on Sky Sports. There's a small matter taking place in Portugal at the moment you might want to comment on. And that is followed by the Poker Million at 11. Now, don't forget, coming up from the world of Rugby League, we have Manly against Souths, Saturday morning, 10:30 on Sky Sports 2. Sky Sports 2 again, Saturday evening at 6 for that big one, Wigan Leeds from the Super League. And then the weekend is completed by St George Illawarra and West, Sunday at 11 on Sky Sports 3. Been great having Brian Carney with us. We'll have to get him back soon. Thanks for being with us at home. See you tomorrow at Wigan. Bye-bye.